vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Super busy day. Um, let's make sure everything is plugged in and see if I'm live here. I have so much to share with you that thank you for tuning in. Please share this live stream so that more can tune in because this is very important. This case is really big, y'all. That's it really is a big case. I wish it wasn't. I really wish it wasn't a big case. I wish from the very get go they would have leveled with us and they would have given us our son, told us the truth. Um, you know, to be honest with you, at the beginning, the way they handled things, it was so bad that we said, look, we're offering immunity to to um, to the escorts because they said there was escorts. Of course, we know that's all like not. Um, but the unit absolutely they know things. There are people that were uncomfortable participants. So I would say that we are absolutely in that frame of mind to offer immunity for those uncomfortable participants in this. And I know we said this at meetings because we didn't want this to be a huge case. We um, we wanted our son, right? We wanted our son. And, we did not make this a big case. The Army made this a big case. The FBI made this a big case because they violated our rights. They violated Richard's rights. They covered up the brutal murder of a whistleblower. They covered up that Richard was a whistleblower. Remember that. For months and months and months and months until we discovered ourselves. They never told us that Richard was a whistleblower. We had to discover that for ourselves. And that made all the difference in the investigation because now now we established a motive. We have a motive now. And that also will zoom in into certain suspects who you know who had a motive to hurt Richard. And knowing that he's a whistleblower absolutely changed the whole investigation. And the Army, the CID, the FBI, um, the media, and many others decided that they were going to keep that a secret from us. They weren't going to let us know that Richard was a whistleblower. And that's pretty shocking. Okay, so I think everything is going well. We sent out two documents today that I I don't know for sure. I'm hoping that they shook things up. That they shook things up. And I said this on on the TikTok that I just did not too long ago. I said, you know, this takes a long time, and you have to be long suffering when you're going through this. But a family, absolutely loved ones that want justice for their maligned, murdered, missing soldier, absolutely has the right. We absolutely have the right to get justice, to get accountability, to get the answers, just to get the answers. We have the right. And it takes a while for all of this. It shouldn't, but it does, because the law enforcement, the FBI, and many others know the law, they twist the law, they are negligent, they're derelict, they break the law, but because they know one thing, they know that the vast amount of people don't have the knowledge, don't have the time, don't have the resources to understand what is going on in this law system. That you have to remember, our law legal system is buildings upon buildings upon buildings of legal documents, regulations, um, yada yada, right? And to get through all of that, you really do have to have some legal people on your side. You have to have resources on your side. And it's very difficult for people to just have that readily available. And you have to have time on your side to learn and to proceed, to not give up, to not give up, to not give up, and move forward in a systematic fashion. You know, there has to be a method, a system to what you're doing. And for the longest time, we thought we were partners with the FBI, partners with the CID. We were part of the task force. Find Richard Halliday. That's what we thought, that we were partners with them, that we were whatever they told us to do, which was a lot. You have to find leads. They told us you have to find leads, or we can't do anything. And so they're the ones that really started us to figure out what we were going to do to get information and get leads so that we could help the FBI and the CID uh, get answers to what happened to Richard. And all along, they were betraying us. They did not tell us that Richard was a whistleblower, which is huge, which is huge. And that changes the whole investigation, right? And then, of course, now we have these autopsies. If they lied to us about Richard being, or, you know, just withheld information that Richard was missing, withheld information that Richard was a whistleblower, a double whistleblower to the Child Protective Services. He was a whistleblower, and he also blew the whistle on his unit to the CID. And we were given the information that Special Agent Tavita Nusa was assigned his victim's advocate, to be a victim's advocate. Oh my goodness, that would make sense why Tavita Nusa had access to Richard's file in order to leak it. So that's one of our questions that we have. But we also, if they are going to withhold information that is so important for the investigation, then of course they would withhold information about an autopsy. They would withhold information that Richard was brutally murdered and remains were found in Juarez, Mexico. They would absolutely do that, you see, because in every step of this way, They were covering up. They were lying to us. They were withholding information. They were leading us to into different and to sabotage the search for Richard and sabotage our paperwork. And also that they even sent a deputy from the fugitive apprehension unit deputies, beautiful deputies, but they sent them without a warrant. That's what it seems. So our rights were violated in their cover up. And so today, I'll read you. Let's see if I can pull that up. Uh, so much stuff going on to the news. One of the first things that we sent off this morning was a email to Representative Norma Torres. She, I'll give you some background there. She is the representative for Chino, California. Chino, California is the home of Enrique Roman Martinez. And that's why Enrique's name is very important to put into this email that we sent out. Because Enrique Roman Martinez was, well, his head rolled ashore in May of 2022. Okay, so April, um, Vanessa Guillen was brutally murdered. In May of 2020, Enrique Roman Martinez was brutally murdered with a hatchet. His eyes were gouged out. His head was chopped off with a hatchet. His eyes were gouged out, and his hair was pulled out. Um, his family only has his head, his skull at this time. And um, it was a very brutal murder. And Norma Torres, of course, felt like she had to do something. And we're very grateful that she did something. And that because of so many, I mean, I think it's every investigation that the CID, maybe I shouldn't say every, but just about every, they botched it. They botched the investigation, and it was very clear. It's so clear that Norma Torres had no confidence in the CID, the Criminal Investigative Division of the military of the Army. It was very clear that she had none because she put together um, a law to change that whole, to regroup, to retrench how these murders in the military are investigated. And voila, it became the cold case and violent crime unit that Richard is in. So uh, this that's how this connects. Is Richard is one of the first to be in this new cold case. I don't know if he is the first. I know he is the first Vanessa Guillen absent soldier. I know that he is that um, to fall under this whole system. But as far as the cold case goes, I don't know for sure. Um, but I know that he is part of the violent crimes cold case unit there in Quantico. And this unit came to be because and is funded because of Norma Torres's work. And so we felt strongly that she needed to know what we were going through. Okay? This is her baby, and we needed to let her know what we are going through. And so we wrote her. Um, and of course, we CC'd the special agent there at Quantico, the senior special agent, Jessica Veltri, and Special Agent Todd Howell, Major General Jim Eisenhower. That's spelled wrong here. Um, it's spelled with an I. So the spell check, I missed that. Um, but yeah, sent it to him. Let me see if I can edit it. Yeah, I'm going to edit that because that bothers me that his name is misspelled. You'll see some of my stuff I have edits. I hope that's right now. Okay. Um, so yeah, it's going to General Andrew Pappas and uh, General James McConville, Secretary of the Army, Secretary of Defense. It's addressed to, and well, I'll just read it to you. We are the Halliday family, and our son, Richard Halliday, is the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier and whistleblower. He has been missing for over 1,057 days. Richard was an aspiring soldier who was a distinguished honor graduate of his cycles in basic training and advanced individual training, and it was an honor for him to serve as a guidon bearer for his unit, Delta Battery 14380A, 32nd ADCOM at Fort Bliss. And we write to express our gratitude and to support your leadership in recognizing the need for a specialized unit to address and solve serious crimes within the military, such as the murders of Vanessa Guillen and Enrique Roman Martinez. Your legislative efforts that led to the creation of the cold case unit are commendable and timely, ensuring that the U.S. Army focuses its resources on addressing these crucial issues. However, we feel compelled to provide you with firsthand feedback regarding our experience with the newly created unit. Unfortunately, our experience has been that the unit is more focused on perpetuating a narrative that protects the institution rather than solving crimes. As we mentioned before, our son has been missing for over 1,057 days, and his case is riddled with irregularities involving the cold case unit. We would like to highlight the following concerns. Number one, the cold case unit allowed a significant gap of inactivity in our son's case lasting over 15 months. This was really, really important. I'll stop here just to explain that because we had a primary witness come forward during that time and they ignored him. They didn't want anything to do with him. And this is on the murder of our son. And they did not even want to interview him. And and they knew about him, right? They knew about him, and they didn't pay any attention to him. I think that is a real negligence. Number two, the unit failed to contact key witnesses and neglected important leads in the investigation. Three, the cold case unit has been unresponsive to our basic inquiries and failed to acknowledge our communications. Four, copies of essential documents, such as the warrants used to search our home for our missing son, have not been provided by the cold case unit. Number five, the unit has not addressed conflicts of interest involving CID agents who were involved in inappropriate sexual relations and linked to CID files. Internal affairs complaints involving CID agents have been ignored by the unit. The unit has failed to visit the crime scene. I'll read that one more time. That's a wowzer. Well, they're all wowzers, aren't they? The unit has failed to visit the crime scene. That's a wowzer. They're all wowzers. Um, when you think about it, when you wrap your head around this, you're just like, wow. Despite repeated threats against our family, the unit continues to demand that we provide leads while failing to ensure our safety. Yep, 100%. The cold case unit has neglected to address retaliation by a key suspect against a key witness. 100%. These irregularities clearly indicate that the newly created cold case unit has not brought about the anticipated changes. It appears that there is no genuine interest in solving major military crimes. We believe that your oversight and legal intervention will help steer this unit back on course, as mandated by your legislation. Failures like these have resulted in tragic deaths, as seen in the cases of Vanessa Guillen, Enrique Roman Martinez, Caleb Smither, and Austin Hawk. Similar to the Enrique Roman Martinez case, the cold case unit handling of our son's case has refused to answer our questions, provide leads, or question suspects. So we stand by you and support your efforts, and at this time, we humbly request your help. Sincerely, Lieutenant Colonel Robert B. Halliday III and Patricia Halliday. Um, so I think that shakes people, um, and it should, because we're talking about our military, and we're talking about having their six, right? We're talking about giving them everything that they are supposed to be defending. They are defending the Constitution. We need to show everyone that we defend them, right? And we follow the Constitution. We apply the Constitution. And if our own CID, if our own criminal investigative divisions, our own cold case and um, very serious crimes, right? Very serious crimes unit can't even investigate a missing soldier, a murdered soldier, a maligned soldier. If they can't even do that, um, then we're in very, very bad shape, because then the normal citizen is going to be treated so much worse, because we give our military everything, and we give them respect. We give them privilege. We give them many privileges. And so if we're not even going to have their back, then we're demonstrating to the rest of the population that they're just fodder. They're just nothing. That's what that demonstrates. So I have a video here of Graham, where he is supporting Donald Trump. And I want to say, the flatterers, uh, I consider Graham a flatterer. I do not consider him, and I don't mean that in a good way at all. I mean that in the sense of what I just led the study of Pilgrim's Progress for our Sunday school class, and what I learned in that Pilgrim's Progress is the flatterer has a net. They will talk sweet things in your ears. They will call you up on your hotline number, and they might even, uh, yeah, they might even get a tattoo. Uh, they might do what all this other, they just talk, talk, talk. And, but they don't have your six. They can't be trusted. And they end up smearing and lying and all kinds of stuff. And you're like, what? What? I thought that you cared. I thought you cared. And they don't. So these flatterers, um, they're dangerous. They're very dangerous. And I think that many cases, they're FBI informants. Their FBI informants are their political pundits paid by certain groups. Um, I don't know, but I just think they're just up to no good. And we have experienced that in Richard's case. And it was so well done that absolutely this is a standard operating procedure, that they do it in other cases as well, that they have these type of flatterers. And so I wanted to play you this little video of our senator who couldn't even send his own man. That's a long story. Sent William Timmons, who's really up to no good. He's up to no good with, other destroying other people's families. But he sent William Timmons' man to us, who called them both cowards, right, in front of our face, to tell us that they weren't going to answer our emails. Like, we really wrote them a lot of emails, not because who are they? They're really, I think we give them way too much credit or position because they really can't do anything. And I'll talk about that too with Ted Cruz. But I just want to talk about this flatterer that is flattering Donald Trump. And I think it's a warning out there. I don't think that Senator Graham is trustworthy. I don't think if he says he has President Trump's back, I don't think he does. And he sure doesn't have our soldiers, our service members back. Okay? He has made it very clear that he believes every service member is fodder. He just loves war. Right now he wants to go to war with China, go to war with Russia. He just wants to, have our volunteer sons and daughters being shot at. And we don't even know what for, So here he is, and I just think it's important to show it.
Let me finish.
They call it whataboutism. That's the new favorite phrase of the left and the media and Democrats. Not whataboutism. Isn't it about equal justice and equal application of our laws?
Well, number one, George Stephanopoulos had no idea what I was talking about. I might as well have been talking Chinese. He didn't know that Hillary Clinton's people took a hammer to a BlackBerry. He didn't know they wiped the emails clean. He didn't know that Anthony Weiner wound up with classified information on his computer. He didn't know any of that because when the Democrats accuse of something they don't know.
He needs to watch this show. He'll learn something.
Yeah, there you go. I agree. And happy birthday, President Trump, because he's watching this show. So I talked to him. Hey, pal. You had dinner with Melania and Ivanka. We got your back. President Trump, we have your back. This is not about you. It's about us. You could take the Dalai Lama and make him the Republican nominee that try to destroy his life. They hate conservatism. This is a bunch of BS. President Trump, you're going to prevail. You're going to be the Republican nominee, and you're going to be president again. Just hang in there.
What do you make? How is it possible the things you were explaining? You don't believe that George Stephanopoulos knew. I give him a little more credit than that. I think he knew damn well about the 33,000 deleted emails. He's heard about BleachBit. He's heard about hammers destroying BlackBerries and iPhones. They know all about it. And yet they protect their own. And they're willing to have a complete double standard because the media is basically an extension of all things, radical, new Green Deal, Democratic Socialist Party, are they not?
Right. Yeah, okay. John McCain was great until he became the nominee. Then he was a crazy old man. Mitt Romney was a heartless billionaire who put the dog on top of the car. Here's what I want to tell every conservative Republican. Whether you like Trump or not, it is not about Trump. If you're pro-life and you believe in responsible gun ownership and you want to limit the role of the federal government, you're the enemy of the people. President Trump was one hell of a president on all the things that I care about. They're trying to destroy his life. It's not going to work. And here's what's coming next. Watch for an indictment in Washington, D.C. You could convict any Republican in America of anything in Washington, D.C. He got 5% of the vote. Here's what I worry about, that Mr. Smith will indict President Trump for January the 6th activity in Washington, D.C. If he does that, that means he has no confidence in the Florida case. I hope and pray that Mr. Smith will not do that, because that will tear this country apart. President Trump has been treated unlike anybody I've known in this business, and I've been around since 1995. What they hate about him the most, he's broken through to working people. He's a threat to the left unlike anybody since Ronald Reagan. And Mr. President, President Trump, talk about the future, pal. We got you back.
Let me ask you a last question.
Okay, so as you know, the last couple of days I came out with the MAGA hat. And because we have seen Team 5 Richard Halliday, we have seen over these years, starting in 2015, but really 2016, just the asymmetric warfare tactics used against President Trump, the FBI being weaponized, of course, military operations used against him. We have recognized that because of 1,057 days, 1,000 days that we have been going through the same thing with Richard. And it's the same standard operating procedures, right? This is a DOD problem. This is where I have this is a DOJ problem. This is a DOD problem. But the DOJ could not do this without the Department of Defense. The DOJ could not do this without knowing that they had some kind of protection, that they had some kind of guns backing them up. And that is the 44 four-star generals that have betrayed us, that are serving foreign and domestic enemies, and within like the Department of Justice. It's very, very clear because of so many people that we have spoke to that just don't, that know that their case with their loved ones, their missing, murdered, maligned service members, they did not get justice, okay? Or it was very strange how they did it, very controlled. And in our case, we have the phone traces. We have the K9. We have the military police guard mount. We have the FBI man. I'm not calling him Dollar General man anymore. He is the FBI man that said the FBI found the remains of our son in Juarez, Mexico. And this makes this case international. That's why this is a big case, because they had to deal with Mexico, and we had to deal with Mexico. We went over to Mexico. We had good experiences there. We thought we did, and we put in a complaint. Rob put in a complaint. It has been tampered with. It has been tampered with, and there's been an order not to search for Richard. And this would be in the corpses. This would be in the remains. This would be in the autopsy books. Why? Who has control over over Chihuahua, right? Who has control over that? When I listen to Senator Graham, and I see how he has dealt so callously, cold-blooded. I mean, this man has no care for service members at all, no care for our Department of Defense. I think what he cares about is the contracts, his pocketbook, because we needed him. We need him now as our senator. And he threw us under the bus. And there's other things. Um, but yeah, he absolutely did not help us and did not help Richard. And if this is an international murder, brutal murder of a whistleblower about what was going on in the DOD over that border, okay, inside our military that had to do with border relations. And the senator is not interested. The senator doesn't want to hear our story. He does not want to hear Richard's story. He doesn't want to help us get all the information that we need to have to find our son. I think it is appalling, absolutely appalling from him. And if I was President Trump, I would worry. I would absolutely worry because it has come out. Tucker Carlson came out. If you haven't watched that, you should. I think 50 million people, or maybe more by now, has watched it. But what Tucker Carlson was talking about was these flatterers that when President Trump was elected, or right before, when they knew that he was the lead, that nothing was going to stop him, they flattered him and got on into his court, as you would say. I shouldn't call it court, but in his, you know, his staff, his whole staff, his whatever. Um, and they sabotaged him. And absolutely that has happened in Team Find Richard Halliday. Absolutely. And it's heartbreaking because at the end of the day, we are allowed as family to follow all leads that come to us. And for others to try to direct and sabotage and, and I think we've been very, very gracious with every lead, every lead. And yet, very, very important information has been withheld from us by those that, uh, um, anyway, um, it's so sad. It's so sad. So they didn't have our back. They didn't have Richard's back. Okay? And so I would watch out really careful for Senator Graham. Now, the other one is, hold on. I don't know if I'm going to play Ted Cruz's. I don't think I am. But I will tell you, Ted Cruz wrote a fantastic letter for us that he could do. But I'm just telling you that he has no power. With the military at all. They don't care about him at all because Christine Warmouth is 23 ranks lower than he is, and she flipped him off. And he had no recourse to that. None. That's why it's so important to have the military on your side, these generals. But this Secretary of the Army, I don't, Christine Warmouth, who is she anyway, right? Who is she? She has like that same spirit as Graham. She does not back up the military, the no, or any service member. And she walked all over Senator Cruz. It was really shocking to live through. It really was. So, and he could have helped us get the information about Richard's whistleblowing, but they don't want that out there. Why not? Why not? what does that expose and who does that expose? You know, I think we would be shocked to see who it would expose. So we wrote the clerk of the court because of Judge Robert. Let me see. Robert Schutz. Is that it? I know it's a German name. Let's see if I have it in here. Anyway, it's the judge there, and he was in the news. I think it's in this one. I want to get this judge's name to you. Here it is. Robert Schuck. Yeah. Colonel Robert Schuck. So we wrote the court of the clerk of the court to have that clerk pass forward the information that we're requesting, the requests that we're requesting, to this Colonel Robert Schuck, the judge. And he's been in the news. So if you just look him up, El Paso will come up. And yeah, so what did we want from him is a good answer, a good question, a good question. So let me read that to you as well as I can because it's a lot of them. It's a lot. Number one, or the main point that the first paragraph has in it is our primary concern. And we wanted to let him know that this is about Richard, of course, but he is under investigation or whatever. So they can't share things from us. I mean, 15 months they do nothing. They call it under investigation, you know, and they have prime witnesses and all this stuff, and then they do nothing. Sorry, I'm a little cynical on that one because what are they doing? What are they doing? Why are they earning money if they're not doing anything? And they get privileges. They get huge privileges that people that would take that job seriously would love to have that job, you know? So we wanted to let this judge, Judge Robert Schuck, know our primary concern stems from the search conducted at our residence, which appears to have taken place without a warrant. Okay? So this information that we're requesting that is totally connected with Richard's case is about our the violations that were committed against us, family Halliday, right? So number one, we need Richard's case file, right? We need all that because of our rights being violated. Any kind of indictments or complaints, we would like to see that. Because we want to know, how did that happen? How did that happen that we had the fugitive apprehension search our house, the fugitive apprehension unit search our house, and they didn't have a warrant, and they took advantage of us because one of the comments that you'll see is, well, you invited them in. Absolutely we did. We were so desperate at that time, the beginning of September, because the Army had thrown us out. Richard was in nobody's jurisdiction. Nobody was willing to help us. Everyone said, oh, we can't help, we can't help, we can't help. And for the fugitive apprehension group to come to our house to show any indication of listening to us and helping us and getting this out there in the law enforcement community was welcomed by us. Welcome. But that doesn't change their duty. And their duty uh, is to have a warrant and to provide a warrant and to provide a copy of a warrant, especially to a family that is in total distress. It was hell week, y'all. It was, you're just trying to think straight. And so when they came to our house, um, I think they took advantage of that. They took advantage of our emotional state instead of doing their duty. Unless there's some warrant floating out there, but we've been waiting for weeks now, and they have not provided a warrant to us. Um, so any kind of indictment or complaint, who's who's talking with each other, to make this happen? Was this the El Paso sheriffs calling up and saying, "Hey, my sheriff's buddy there in Sarasota, Florida, I need you to do this," without a warrant? Or was there a judge involved? There's so much. We need to find out what happened. And so we need the court orders. We need court transcripts. We need plea agreements or negotiations. We need sentencing documents. We need, if they exist, right? Subpoenas and witness statements. We need appeals documents. We need probable cause affidavits. Those are very, very important because they're what you give a judge to sign off on a warrant. What warrants a fugitive apprehension unit to search a home, to arrest a citizen, okay, to arrest a service member? Is it a warrant, an arrest warrant? Was it a search warrant? Um, right now, there's none. So we need to see this, and we have the right, since our rights look like they've been seriously violated. So arrest warrants, affidavits to support the warrants, autopsy reports, witness testimony, forensic reports, chain of custody reports, investigative reports, surveillance footage, expert opinions, and case updates. So that's all that we could find in our research, and that to put on this, to get the information to find out what kind of corruption, because this is looks like corruption, right? Asymmetric warfare tactics, military operations. And so we need to know the whole story to figure out what happened, that they would just violate our civil rights like this. So I think this could have been what was shaking up law enforcement there, and or the leadership there at Fort Bliss today. Well, I did get confirmation that they were shaken up. Um, so maybe this is what did it. I don't know. I don't know. Could be some other case, right? But we definitely, this is serious. But so between the letter to Representative Torres about the cold case unit, which I think is very serious, and then this violation of our civil rights, that now we need that judge. We need anybody that can help us there with the clerk of the courts to give us the information so that we can understand what happened, that we have requested. So if you have any questions, I think that was huge, huge. And we're, at 1,000 days, we are very aware of flatterers. And so, even with a response from these emails already, which we have gotten, uh, you know, we really are more cynical. We are not trustworthy. We don't trust them. We don't want to be caught in the net of the flatterers. I hope that makes sense. President Trump was probably rolling his eyes at Lindsay's comments. I think you're right, Annie. I think he was because, like Tucker, I think what Tucker Carlson did was talk. He didn't call it flatterers. I don't believe he did like I am because of this recent study of Pilgrim's Progress. But he said they befriend you and they just flatter you. They just try to get into your best graces, and then you get put into a prominent position, and then you can sabotage. And that's exactly what has happened in Richard's case. We had Tavita Nusa um, at the CID, at the CID, right there at Fort Bliss. We had Agent Soto didn't even tell us that Richard was a whistleblower for months and months and months. Never, never did he tell us. We had to find out and then hold his feet to the fire. Um, that's Jay Pollan has a good friend in the CID. Then we find out there's so much conflict of interest right there in the CID. Then we have FBI man who is with the FBI telling us that the FBI found Richard's remains in Juarez, Mexico. And we still do not have an official document denying that. Why not? This is the FBI. So, and then just a couple months ago, we get this slew of information that there are autopsy reports on Richard, one being a Mexican one being one from Mexico, from Juarez, um, fragmented pieces, right? So, why can't they officially answer our grief, our worries? And their silence gives credence to all of this. You see, because there's leaked files, there is anybody saw the video of FBI man? It is so compelling. Has anybody seen the video of the cashier at the Dollar General that gave her testimony? Totally truthful and compelling. You can send it to any body language expert, and they will say, absolutely, she is telling the truth. And the same thing for FBI man, Nadal Baim. Nadal Baim. And then the FBI tells us that he's just some guy watching my Facebook. No, no, he's not just some guy watching my Facebook. He is the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM at the time, which is the heartbeat of our son's command. They would know. So to see the same standard operating procedure, the same corruption, the same weaponization of our agencies, of our institutions, it's so heartbreaking, but we have to tell you this is what's going on. And they did that to President Trump, and they did that in this case. And that is why people need to be vigilant. That's why we need a PAO, because where is the media in all of this? Where is the media? It's very interesting what they cover and what they don't cover. Absolutely. Because if they ask those pertinent questions, we would get answers because they would force our agencies and our institutions to do the right thing. But our media is being controlled, and we learn that through Miss Korcherga of El Paso Matters. So we called out El Paso Matters and said they are a privileged media because they have tax-free status. Why should they have tax-free status when they say that they're not political, but they are political attack dogs? They made that very clear that they're political attack dogs. So they need to pay taxes. You can be a political attack dog, but you need to not lie and say that you're neutral and get tax-free status. So, and where is Miss Kucherga? Because she told me on the phone um, that, oh yeah, she was going to reach out. Well, when is that? When is that? And so they don't have the service members back. They don't have the militaries back. They are absolutely um, political attack dogs and political pundits, and they have an agenda. They have an agenda. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you so much, Danielle. Richard Halliday and family deserve justice. Thank you so much. God bless y'all for doing that. Lindsay is loyal to no one. I believe that. Um, so we're asking for everyone to be the PAO, which is a public affairs officer. Uh, if you can share, if you can let people know, you might want to write your congressman, write your senator, write Representative Torres, and show your support for Enrique's family, for Richard, because Enrique is still in cold case there, along with Richard. And that's why I needed to put his name in there. Say a prayer for that family. And, um, you know, if we all never give up, we have so much power just in our community, just in talking truth. So much power. And anytime you do that, of course, you're going to be attacked and sometimes you're going to be attacked by a bot, y'all, by a robot, okay? Because they'll see they're getting so good with this AI and the robots, um, but they still have the political pundits, they still have asymmetric warfare tactics. They're going to attack you because we're talking about just with the child sex trafficking, 32, the last time I looked, $1 billion. Um, that is huge business. And then with the fentanyl, with other illegal substances, drugs coming over the border, then with the weapons smuggling, and a lot of equipment from the military gets smuggled over there and makes people money. We know that. And I really believe that is one of the things that Richard was reporting was the cooking of the books because of the equipment and weapons and ammunition sales smuggling over into Mexico. So this is big, big business. And we need to know what Richard was whistleblowing on. If it's no big deal, why didn't they release it? Why don't they honor our FOIA? Right? Why didn't Soto tell us that Richard put in a CID complaint? Right? We were like, oh, this is an IG complaint because we were being told the IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. And now it comes out that it was a CID complaint and they didn't tell us, oh, ma'am, it's not an IG, it was a CID complaint and a Child Protective Service complaint. They didn't even say that to us. We had to find everything out, that he was a whistleblower, where these complaints went to, that he had sex videos um, that he turned in. They didn't tell us anything. And, you know, and now that we know this, that we know that Leilani Hart confessed to major crimes, having child porn or allowing a 7-year-old to be sexually assaulted in your master bedroom for up to 2 years and not reporting it, taking really your sweet time to report it. That's a crime. And her son, Dallas Hart, who we maintain was Richard's platoon leader. At some point, he was his platoon leader, because who's his platoon leader? They've never provided us with Richard's platoon leader. We have the first sergeants, we have the captains, we know who the lieutenant colonel Michael Roddick, who needs to be stripped of his uniform. Maybe he was, I don't know. These retaliated against Richard continuously and severely. But where is a platoon leader? Because platoon leaders have a lot of power. They have the power over Richard's stuff in the barracks, which we know is so much stuff is missing. So much stuff is missing, especially electronics. And, where is this stuff? So where's a platoon leader to help us go through that, right? To figure that out. We know that his things were tampered with. We know that his file was tampered with. We know video was tampered with. We know there's video missing. And what about the autopsies? What about the findings of Richard's remains? That's a big deal. And, it's a sad day when you have to say, is the FBI and the DOD hiding the remains of my son? That's a sad day. But that here we are. And if they can do to Trump what they've done to him, whether you like him or not, this is a tyrant president, and I'm talking about Biden, that is, and he might not even know what he's doing, but what he's doing in his name, what's being done in his name, is using our system to attack his political rivalry. And anybody should be very upset with that. Because one thing that I know of is Trump had, in 2015, 10 years of IRS audits under his belt. 10 years in a row, the IRS had audited him. That was in 2015 when I was looking him up to see if he was a viable candidate and I wanted to vote for him. And I did. That's why I have the MAGA hat, because if any man could go through 10 years of IRS audits and have the financial records that he had at that time, which was huge, and maybe you could say, oh, I don't know, they weren't tough on him or whatever, but why would they do an audit, right? Why would they do an audit? To go through that, it's amazing. And just to go through it and handle it while you're doing business and building things and all that is also amazing. His ability to work and to juggle things while absolutely producing things is amazing. And that's why I'm not saying, oh, he did everything right in life or he's not corrupt in some areas or whatever. There's not one of us that's good, not one, but God alone, right? But his family, he owned up to all of his children, to all of his grandchildren. You can't say that about the Clintons. You can't say that about the Bidens. So, yeah, uh, there are definitely um, more things to respect him for, um, and to see the way they treated him. And another really good point that I want to make that solidified, because I'm getting questions. Why are you supporting? Um, I listened to Catherine Austin Fitts. She's an amazing woman, and she was the HUD director under Bush. I believe I got that right. Um, and she put together a map of the opportunity zones that President Trump gave all of these inner cities, uh, that people could open up a small business, and pay very little taxes. I don't know if they got uh, what other support they got, but what it did is it created a vibrant atmosphere in the inner cities of a lot of these big cities that had problems in the inner city. And what happened in the Black Lives Matter, the Antifa attacks, when they were saying peaceful protests and the whole inner city is burning, is the very what Catherine Austin Fitts recognized is that the very inner cities that were opportunity zones were the ones that were attacked. You could overlay the two, the burning cities and the opportunity zones, and they would match. And that was really revealing to me about how our government, our politics has been weaponized against our own, our own. And I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. You don't, oh my gosh, that is the most wicked thing. So, it is very clear to me that we have a problem with the weaponization of our institutions against us. With leaders like this, who needs enemies? That's what I've been saying for a long time. With a leader like General McConville, who needs an enemy? Because General McConville's the one that staged that task force find Richard Halliday, wasted so much money because there was 15 plus agencies there, didn't offer an op or no operational order for a task force for anything to be done. And the military came out of uniform. So they made it unofficial. With a leader like that, who needs an enemy? And he needs to be stripped of his uniform, of his stars, of his title, of every award that he has been given. Because to me, what he did in this case was so blatantly evil that he needs to be investigated for what he's done in other cases. It's just that evil. And for me to say that on a live stream, you understand, I love our military. So for me to say that these 44 four-star generals, especially General McConville, especially General Garrett, especially General Mealy, for them to be doing, for me to say they need to be stripped from their titles, from their stars, from their uniform. Take off our uniform. This is our uniform, our stars. You're supposed to defend our Constitution. That's why we give you the privileges, and the respect. And they betrayed us. It's very clear in a um, warlike manner, in a weaponized manner. They betrayed us. So we've been made the head investigators of Richard's case, and now our rights have been violated. So now we have two cases that we are trying to get justice for Richard's case and for our case, and therefore we need that judge there on Fort Bliss to give us what we requested to get to the bottom, to represent ourselves. And I think this will also help us find Richard. That's get answers to find Richard. So thank you everyone for coming on. Thank you so much. And please, like I said, be our PAO and be our media for us and spread this around. Call your representatives, call the media, and thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.